A very complicated application, so I'll just ask the panel please try to avoid redundancy if you can, and keep your comments as concise as possible, and that goes for the applicant as well. Thank you for the presentation. That's a big project.
Got lots to say.
You could sign it really short. Could the applicant team introduce yourself?
Sorry, you need the last one. You're welcome.
Gregory Henriquez, architect.
Just to clarify, when I say I'm the developer, we are the developer of the project, and we own 50%, Telus owns 50% of the partnership with us.
We have Anita here again to introduce the project. And thanks for joining us. Yes, that's okay.
Dwayne and I are going to take you down to the model, giving you a page and a half of things to think about. This is a fairly large proposal.
You gotta get out of here.
If I could ask you to stand aside, please. Thank you.
As quick as I could.
So I'll just start with giving you a brief policy outline about the site. The site is the subject of the Downtown Official Development Plan, which has been adopted by Council. The Downtown Official Development Plan talks about office development in the CBD and allowing residential development on the shoulder of the CBD. And so the area between the lane here between Seymour and Richards and the Kingston Hotel over here, this is the area that allows residential in the CBD, provided you do a minimum of commercial on this site. This portion here is the area that allows commercial and office only. So this application does meet the policy for the area. It talks about maximum heights for the area. Maximum heights for the area are allowable up to the view cone. There's a view cone that restricts the height on the Telus building. There's also a view cone that restricts the height on the residential building as well. Just really briefly to let you know, this is the residential tower which has been proposed for the site. This is the office building which has been proposed. This is Telus's existing building right here, and they're talking about doing a bit of reskinning and then some additional density on here. The site is also subject to design guidelines along Robson Street, which recognize that Robson Street is an area of greater pedestrian activity as you go down to the two stadiums which terminate at the end of Robson Street. A little portion about this with the height and the view. There is a view cone that affects this site which dictates the height. However, there is an existing building right here in the Scotia building which is already impacted in the view cone. So we have council adopted policy that says that if you can prove that your building is entirely within the shadow of an existing building, you can go up to the existing height, provided you have a higher level of architectural criteria and you have a higher level of sustainability. That is something that at the rezoning stage we are going to make allowance for, but they must detail that and prove that out at the development permit stage when this comes back to the Urban Design Panel at that date. I'll now turn over to Ms. Malaro for her comments.
Okay, so I'm sure most of you know where this site is, but I'll just remind you all that it's the full block bounded between West Georgia and Robson Street, and Seymour and Richard Street. The local context around this block includes a number of residential high-rises and office buildings, including the Capitol Residence, Scotia Tower, La Hermitage, Richards, and Robson, which are all part of the downtown south context. As Dwayne mentioned, there is some existing buildings on the site. The William Farrell building, which is this building, which already has a small addition on top of it that's going to be added onto. 3 floors are being added onto that, plus a slight expansion of the lower floor of the other floors that already exist in this previous addition. The corner building at Robson and Seymour was revitalized in 2000 with a double glass facade, and the building in between these was converted into an atrium in 2007. So the proposal itself consists of 928,000 square feet of mixed-use office and residential. The development will replace the 2 existing parkades that are on this portion of the site and this portion of the site. with the 21-story office tower at the corner of West Georgia and a 45-story residential tower. The existing White Spot restaurant in this location at Georgia will be replaced by an extension of the office block that spans out over the street right away of both Richards and Seymour, and a covered plaza at the corner. The north end of the lane accessing off of Georgia will be closed to vehicle traffic, and the lane will be diverted onto Richard Street. So now will be an L-shaped lane that will be created. The Kingston Hotel, which is a separate ownership in this location here along Richard Street, will remain separately owned. So as Dwayne mentioned, a little bit about the view cone. So the base height in this area is actually 300 feet, where the ODP policy allows us to increase the height up to the underside of a view cone. The heights are restricted on the site by actually several view cones, the most restrictive being for the office building, which is proposed at 289 feet, so that more or less meets that view cone limit that crosses this part of the site. The residential building, the view cone height limit is 404 feet, but because of the potential view shadow relationship with this building, the proposal is actually to increase part of this up to the 442 feet to be in that view shadow. In terms of other aspects of the project, the residential floor plate is larger than many of the 6,500 square feet floor plates that we find in this area as part of downtown south, which is typically 6,500. What is being proposed is almost 9,500 square feet. A contextual building for similarity and relationship would be Woodward's, is about 9,500 square feet. The closest other building in the area is Capitol Residence, which is about 8,200 square feet of a floor plate. Just to give you a sense of scale of the building in the area. Or the closest office building, which is Scotia Tower, which is about 10,000 square foot floor plate. The residential tower itself has been shaped in a way to minimize its scale as one approaches it both along Richard Street, with quite, with the shaping and articulation of this facade to give it a fairly narrow and tall, slim expression. I would note that it has a somewhat of a broader profile as you read it, either coming up or down Robson Street. It expands to about 110 feet wide. So we do want the panel's commentary on that. So one of the questions we do have for the panel is about the relative scale of the residential building and the role of this site in this context and more broadly within the downtown peninsula. There's been a technical view analysis within your package from the various buildings. So you can take a look at that as well. The office building, before I leave the residential building, there are a number of elements that extrude out over the street on the residential building. Planning is not supporting some of these elements on the residential building. And when we get to the office building, we'll talk about the extensions over the public right-of-way there. So let's just jump to that now. So these elements, as part of this bar that's being expressed in the building, planning is prepared to consider these extensions over the street right-of-way. But some of the questions we are asking ourselves, and we would like the panel's input, are if they are supportable as elements protruding into the street right-of-way, how should they or can they contribute to the public realm? How should they or do they contribute to the architectural merit of the overall proposal? And what is the role of the space generated within the space, the occupancy of that space as a projection out over the street? We also want the panel's commentary on the building's external treatments and expression, including the passive design elements. There are vertical shades on these call them east and west facades, even though we're on a 45-degree angle, and horizontal shades on the south facade, noting again we're on the 45-degree of the downtown. There is also an integrated LED lighting strategy that's being considered here as well, a combination of back projection on the majority of the facades, but also some LED components as part of these projections out of the building and over the street. The covered public plaza at the corner of Georgia and Richards, we like the panel's commentary on its role and contribution to the Georgia Street public realm and its relationship with the composition of the overall building. Other urban design and public realm considerations that we want the panel to give us commentary on are the treatment of the Richard Street frontage, including the number of vehicle access points, the augmentation to the existing Seymour Street frontage, the lane enhancement, the strategy of animating the lane with active uses. I forgot to mention back on the residential building, the relationship and neighborliness of the residential building with the existing Kingston Hotel. Also the green roof, sky garden, and vertical green wall being proposed. Hopefully, most of those things are captured in sort of the list of items I've given you in kind of the notes as a reference, but there certainly you're welcome to provide other comments that you may want to have as well.
Actually, we will open it up to questions. It's a complicated one, so Jim.
Just want to clarify, you mentioned that the lane is closed on the northern part?
Yes.
So how does the rest of the lane work? Could you explain that a little bit?
The lane will work through the L shape, so access will be
Okay,
allowed
so from
via
the L
Richard.
over is closed?
Yeah, from here down it's closed. It's physically, it's allowing a couple things to happen. It's allowing for an expansion of the plaza and to connect that plaza into the whole complex. From a technical point of view, services and things like that, the low-grade services will continue to run through. But the physical nature of the lane will be serviced off of Richards and Robson.